Hey, folks, we are here. Give me a second. I've got to get my co-host. Uh, See, you get to see all these technical difficulties. Okay, we're waiting for our co-host to show up. There you go. Andre, how are you?
Hello, sir.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Yeah, I gotta even push this back a little. Yeah, sorry about that. It told me I had to schedule, like in an hour. So I'm like, okay, no, we're not doing that. So, hey, folks, welcome to Unfinished Business Television, the live episode, where we're gonna be going through movie news, movie commentary, and also, if anybody shows up, we will also answer any questions about the subjects we're talking about, or if you have any general questions for us about movies or anything, we will answer them. So we just gotta hope some people start showing up. So Andre, how are you feeling?
Uh, Feeling pretty good. The weather's actually really nice today, so I got a nice little walk out of it.
Ah, did you do anything recently that like is noteworthy?
Yeah, I should mention we had a little special celebration of our film, The Last Vendetta, over at the Winter Film Awards. We didn't get to screen the movie there, but we got a nice little after party with the actors. Shout out to my friend Aisha Wax for helping to make that happen. And it was a good time overall. Hope to have more screenings in the coming months.
Yes, you got to keep us updated about that. Um, Anything else? And
What else have we gotten? Well, we had the Oscars, and I got to watch that with a few
well,
pals.
that's good. Unfortunately, I had to watch the replay a day after finding out the winners because I gotta work. So, and I can't watch it at work. Like, oh yeah, I'll help you in a second. Hold on, I gotta see who's gonna win Best Actor. Well, I will say that recently I'm feeling blessed. My winter blues have gone. February is like I don't know. It feels like the beginning of a new year rather than January was. My batteries are recharged. Um, it was Black History Month, and as the post I put before, we went to a Brittany Carney Soul show, and we got to meet and see the many talented comedians, artists there, but also the lady who sings "Reading Rainbow." And
Yes.
let's see. Oh, I lost a little weight, and so that's always good. I tried an escape room. We tried Korean barbecue. I'm writing more. I'm going on a steady diet of classic and older films. Sorry, there was a lot, so I'm just like checking. Um, I reunited with some old friends in person and in conversation. And in fact, I reunited with a friend who was visiting New York City, and I haven't seen in like 2 years. We fell out of touch a bit over the time, but got to hang out, chill a few times, caught up, and it was like we barely missed a step. So that was good. And it felt very special, inspiring, and it also helped knowing who really cares and has your back, just as you have theirs. But enough of this kumbaya stuff. Let's go to what the people want, the movie news. So, sorry to sound a little Sandler esque. Would you like to start off with the Oscars, or do you want to do other movie news and then work our way to the Oscars?
Here's some movie news. A lot of big things kind of hit.
Okay. Um, well, we have Christopher Nolan interested in making a James Bond film again after Amazon has now acquired it, and Jeff Bezos putting out that thing asking Amazon customers who do they want to see as James Bond. But what's interesting is that Christopher Nolan has always wanted to make a James Bond film right after he made Tenet. And, now the producers are kind of stepping down. So, now that Amazon has it, I'm interested in this, but I'm also worried about maybe as gatekeepers, they weren't really in the radical ideas like a female James Bond or a black James Bond, but at least they were trying to keep a pedigree. And now that they're gone, it's like now it could be fair game. It could be, I'm afraid of like universe building. So I know you're the bigger James Bond fan. So how are you feeling about this?
Uh, Um, very disturbed and worried. I mean, I've always taken the stance. I just want new stuff now. Like I could care less now about a lot of these IPs. That said, though, it does concern me now without Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson involved. It kind of breaks the whole formula of what we've grown up with Bond. Whether you've grown up with Connery, Moore, Lazenby for the one movie, of course, Brosnan was my era, or Daniel Craig, it's now going to be corporate controlled. And we saw with Star Wars how that turned out. Multiple
Yes,
ups,
yes,
and we're going to tie this here. This person's going to get a spin-off movie. And I really don't want that with Bond, but I feel like that's where we're headed. I mean,
I
if
can
you're
understand.
and he has full creative control, then I might be a little bit more like, okay, I'm assured he's going to maintain some level of we're going to stick to the basics while also trying to push this thing forward. Because I do feel that after No Time to Die, I really do think that the Bond producers were creatively stuck. Because after that ending, if you haven't seen it, it does some things, and I just didn't know where you go from there. Even if you do another actor, that's not the point. It's like, where do you go with James Bond? So you got to worry about that. You also got to worry about the political climate we're in, and obviously they had to pull back a lot of stuff, typical Bond
Yeah.
tropes, and that. And given where we are right now, I'm worried that you're going to pull it back even more.
Yeah. I'm like, I want something new and exciting, and I think Christopher Nolan can bring that to the table, but I'm also afraid, I don't know, like just something in general or like watering it down. Like, what was the one with Olga? I can't remember her last name. Quantum
Oh,
of
that was
Solace. I'm worried of that it's going to be something like that. That felt like this could be almost any other movie. It had a good beginning, good entrance, but that was it, you know. So that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, we've discussed who like our candidates for Bond would be already, so I'm not going to get into that conversation.
right.
So let's move on to the next story. Um, Unfortunately, adversary to the show, but a guy we all loved, uh, Gene Hackman passed away under mysterious circumstances. So, want to give a shout out to his family. And, even though we made fun of him or always were interested in questions about him, he's going to be missed. But I also have a kind of a little bit of I don't know what you would call it, a theory, I guess we'll call it. I think if Gene Hackman had joined or been cast as the principal in the James Belushi role, I think we could have got a franchise out of that before the substitute and before Taken. We would have had Gene Hackman going to wayward schools, just like cleaning out all the crime and the kids, just kicking ass at his age. I'm like, I think that was a lost opportunity. So I just want to say that. Yes, Heartbreakers is an underrated comedy. Adam Raya, thanks for watching. I love that movie only because I love it more for Ray Liotta and Jennifer Love Hewitt, though. But Gene Hackman is, a welcome adversary. It's one of those movies you're shocked he took, sort of like The Replacements, where it's like, okay, I guess he's trying to diversify, or it was the paychecks, or maybe it was, ogling Jennifer Love Hewitt through most half of the movie. But he did create a memorable character. Well, one of my favorite of his comedic performances is Get Short. But I mean, you have a movie that's so stacked with so many other actors, of course. Um, Anything you want to say about Mr. Hackman? And
Oh man, he was incredible, and he was really something. Is that dry that we put into the split episode? Yeah, like I said, we always rag on him because he always seems to be like, so wiry, and you hear all these stories about how difficult he could be on sets. I was just watching David Anspaugh, the guy that did Hoosiers. He did a thing.
okay.
He was talking about working with Hackman on that and how he just simply he didn't like working on a movie in Indiana. He thought it was going to fail. He didn't like working with a novice director, but yet it was a great performance and it turned out to be a seminal movie for its day. And a lot of the actors who played the basketball players looked up to him as a mentor and had good relationships with him on the set. So, I mean, the guy is a titan. When you think of French Connection, Night Moves, obviously playing Lex Luthor and Superman, Bonnie and Clyde. The list goes on. Mississippi Burning, No Way Out, Unforgiven. The guy has an incredible resume, and anything he ever did would elevate the people around him and the movies. Even if he did some stinkers for the paycheck, his presence there do something worthwhile. Even something like Split Decisions. He might have been out, but when he was there, he was entertaining as hell. So, that's the thing that I think is kind of a mispresence, even after he retired with that horrible Ray Romano movie.
Welcome to
But
Moose Sport.
yeah, it's like everyone's him, Connery. They got to do these bad movies before they retire. It sucks, but it is what it
Hey,
is.
it
Yeah,
happens. I
I
mean,
mean,
you
yeah,
got loose cannons too.
yeah,
Just a reminder for anybody who's joining. At the second half of the show, we will be answering any questions. You can put them in now, and we'll answer them probably around 4:45. So feel free, But thank you for being here, everybody who's watching. Uh, my favorite Gene Hackman performance is in a movie called Prime Cut with Lee Marvin. You
mm,
know, that was such, where it was a young Sissy Spacek, where he's like pimping girls from his meat factory. And like, there is literally an ending where Gene Hackman is wearing a pig head and attacking Lee Marvin with a chainsaw. If nobody out there has seen it, you have to see that movie. It is a classic.
I think my
Um,
favorite is, believe it or not, it's not the French Connection, it's the conversation, because it was just such an understated part with a lot of nuance. And then to kind of play a similar character in Enemy of the State, I thought connecting the two the way they did was pretty cool.
I'm like, my thing, I love, in the comments, everybody's going back and
I
forth about Crimson Tide.
like
Uh,
questions.
um, I'm entertained reading the comments. So it's just like, but no. But my favorite story of Gene Hackman. First of all, you should watch. I don't know what movie him and Runaway Jury, where there's a
Yeah,
behind the scenes interview and he's talking about how he loaned Dustin Hoffman all this money and he like took the money, would put it into jars to pay for different things. And he gave him $5 and it's like, what is this for? He's like, well, this is specifically for food. This is not for anything else. It's a fine story because you don't really see Gene Hackman in interviews really be candid. So that was why it's interesting.
really
And before we move on,
very.
is my favorite Gene Hackman story is when Ben Stiller is working with Gene Hackman on Royal Tenenbaums. He's like, "Oh, I finally get to talk to Gene Hackman. Tell him like Poseidon Adventure made me want to be an actor, get in the show business." And he goes to Gene Hackman and he's like telling him all this stuff about the Poseidon Adventure, and Gene Hackman's like, "Yeah, Poseidon Adventure, money job." So like just crushed his bubble right there. It was like that is pure Hackman right there. Unfortunately, we lost some other people other than Gene Hackman recently. Michelle Trachtenberg, she
Yeah,
passed away. That was a total surprise. George Armitage, who directed Miami Blues, Grosse Point Blank, The Big Bounce. That one not that great, but the other two like classics. And Peter Jason, John Carpenter, constant actor. They live. He was in. I'm trying to think of the other Carpenter movies I remember him
Prince of Dark.
in.
I think it was the first movie they did together.
Oh, what about did he? Was he? I know he was in Village of the Damned, and um, and did he do Escape from L.A. also?
Yeah, part in the beginning when Spike Plissken first gets seen. He's like one of the guards.
Yeah, I'm like, so we lost a lot. Not to mention David Johansen. Some of you might remember him as Buster Poindexter,
Live.
or one of the cab driver from Scrooge,
Mm-hmm.
Angie Stone. I mean, filmography wise, she was in The Hot Chick with that Adam was it Adam Sandler produced
It
it
was
with
a
Rachel McAdams, Anna Faris, Roberta Flack, who did one
yeah.
of my favorite soundtracks of all time, Bustin' Loose, and Roy Ayers just recently he passed away too. So
Agent.
yes, so we a big bucket of wind. You know, these are people who we loved, and unfortunately, they passed away. So now let's move on. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to post. We will answer them starting at 4:45. If not, we're going to keep going through stories. So, and keep up the chatter in the comments. I'm enjoying this while also trying to talk. White Chicks 2 is a go. I know you've already bought your ticket, Andre. So, uh,
Yeah, when it comes out, I just hope it's just as funny as the first one, if not better. But this climate, I don't know.
I think maybe that'll be it's perfect because it'll be back to challenging comedy, you know. I don't know how we're gonna do it again, but hopefully one of our guests comes back in the sequel, who we interviewed. And
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, they're all available.
well, I mean, some people. Somebody run a question here. I gotta write it down. Mm, do you think Gene Hackman has the right amount of Oscars? We will answer that question at
Mm.
4:45. Thank you, Adam Rhea. And thank you to all the people who are coming in and watching. And, again, feel free to comment and ask any questions. Okay. I don't know how this works to go back, so I'm writing it down now. But feel free to talk.
Yeah, White Chicks too. I mean, it seems like it's way too long for it, but I mean, listen, if the Wayans brothers got it, why not? Or they gonna go to Europe like Deuce Bigelow too, or are they gonna just go on some
No.
new in Canada? They could do anything with the White Chicks.
Well, I mean, at least Sean Wayans has a job now. So, I mean, yes, it is true, Adam Ray. White Chicks did launch Terry Crews. Take that
Yes, it
for
did.
how it is. Depending. Well, we know he's going to be dancing in it. Let me put it to you that way. Next, we have also Jennifer's Body's getting a sequel. That I did not see coming. I know it has a cult audience, but I did not expect them to actually, make it. I mean, like you said, everybody's probably free to do it. And Diablo Cody hasn't really made much except for Lisa Frankenstein.
I'm wondering, is this a Netflix special? Because Netflix has been like greenlighting sequels to movies from the '90s out of nowhere, like Practical Magic.
I mean, I can see why Practical Magic, Jennifer's Body. I'm not trying to diss the service. That seemed more like a Tubi or a Shutter, sequel. They
Uh,
would fuck. Yeah, more than Tubi. Tubi would probably be behind White Chicks too. More than anything. I'm sure there's some Marlon Wayans movies on there already. So, and I'm not trying to diss Tubi. It is a good service for foreign films and low budget filmmaking for them to be on a streaming service.
and you
So
can find my movie Vendetta Games and Priceless on Tubi right now.
there you go. See, and you will find one of my movies someday when I make one on there. So it's coming though. And as I said it at the beginning when nobody was here, I am working on my writing more. So Netflix canceled Ezra Edelman's 9-hour documentary on Prince. I think it was because the family didn't really want it to be released, or I don't know if it was the rights. I don't know the reasoning. I just know they canceled it.
I only heard vaguely that it's a very dense documentary. They interviewed like hundreds of people, not just bandmates, but like ex-girlfriends and people in the business he was associated with, different producers and executives. And there was just a lot of like very deep stuff as far as like I guess the legalities when he had to fight with Warner Brothers to change his name to the unpronounceable symbol. Obviously the love life stuff that's very controversial, and his place in culture all throughout his career. I think they were starting to tap into some stuff that maybe the estate didn't really feel comfortable getting into, and probably wanted something that was a little bit more streamlined and more just a celebration of the music. But I think his cultural impact should be just as important as what he did musically. I'm wondering if that was one of the reasons why Ava DuVernay lost the gig. Because remember, she was going to do a documentary at one time, and then there was a conflict with, I believe, Prince's sister before she passed, and ended up losing the job. So there's a lot of things that could be in place, and it sucks because it was something I was really looking forward to, especially Ezra Elman having done the OJ documentary, Made in America. I think he could have done a real bang up job with Prince's story.
That's true. Okay, I'm going to answer this question real fast. Doesn't Kevin Smith have a story about filming Prince? Yes, he does. It's
Yeah,
on his an evening with Kevin Smith where he wanted him, I think, to make a documentary on religion or God, and because I guess he had seen Dogma, and he's trying his best interviewing all these people. And I remember from the story that one of the girls or fans he interviewed was telling Kevin Smith all this stuff about like Prince that he didn't even know about Prince. And then I know like Kevin Smith had a meltdown and didn't realize that Prince had microphones all over the house. So like he's like cursing Prince like oh mofo and all this. And then his assistant told Kevin, yes, he can hear you. So after that, I think that was all she wrote when it came to Kevin Smith and Prince. Yeah, I probably should have held that till 4:45. We only have one question so far. Again, thank you to everybody who's watching, who's came and maybe left or I don't know, don't like the conversation, but I appreciate you coming by and watching. And again, ask any questions. We're keeping note for 4:45 because if we don't have that many questions, we're just gonna keep doing more stories. And trust me, I think you want us to answer questions more. So, next story we have, for some odd reason, Robert Downey Jr. is remaking Vertigo, the Alfred Hitchcock classic, a movie that is like one of the best films ever made, voted on by people and many critics. There's no director attached, but Stephen Knight is writing the script. Obviously, I'm a Robert Downey Jr. fan, but I think this is a bad idea. And especially if he takes it to Netflix. They already tried to remake, I believe, Rebecca with Army Hammer, and we saw how that went. And so, Andre, what is your feelings on this remake of Vertigo, or as some people might call it,
I,
sacrilegious?
I just asked myself why bother with this? It's a classic. It's Hitchcock. It's Yeah, I know it's a business. I get that, but Robert Downey Jr. in particular is just too damn talented to be doing those kind of remakes. We've already seen outside of Iron Man, what Doolittle, and you want to do Parker, the Donald Westlake
That I'd
books.
be more interested in
Yeah,
seeing. And
with that could be like a new franchise for him. But come on, man. I mean, we already saw that Psycho movie with Gus Van Sant.
yes,
We know how that shit turned.
which
So
Adam Ray pointed out.
yeah,
Yeah, but my thing is it going to be a shot for shot, or are they going to try and do something different? I mean, and unfortunately, with today's internet culture, there's no way they're going to keep the ending a secret, So it will already be spoiled. I mean, it's sort of like those Poirot, Agatha Christie novels. It's like, yeah, if you stay in the dark, yeah, the endings are amazing. But since they've been released for how many decades, it's like, okay, you didn't see that coming. You could read the book or watch the original movie, even though they always try to do a little twist. Somewhere Kenneth Branagh is like raising his hand. I'll do for the go.
Can't Brana just throw a bone to David Suchet and have him in a Perot movie? Chouchette, or how his name?
Even that was obscure for me. Great. So
What?
I thought you was gonna say Emma
Bro,
Thompson.
he's on like the guy was a masterpiece.
Look, all we have to know if Kenneth Branagh is gonna direct it, where's what role will Kenneth Branagh play? That's all we need.
And well, Whoopi Goldberg be in it, among other big stars.
Okay, that was random. So I feel like, yeah, she'll be the female lead who he can't get over. He's obsessed with her hair. So, in this interracial romance, and it it'll be a soap dish
Oh,
reunion. You
oh,
know, hey, who doesn't like soap dish? Okay, I personally liked it's silly, but I liked it. But moving on before we get too silly. um, next we have Netflix paying $55 million for a romantic comedy starring Natalie Portman, but directed and written by Lena Dunham. Where did that come from? It's,
yeah, that's Netflix. They're spending like crazy, and I don't know why. I mean, this is it's already been shot, and they just bought it, or they're actually producing this thing.
no, they're producing it. It hasn't been shot yet. And
Yeah, well, again, they're throwing money like crazy to projects that, unless it's like Extraction or Beverly Hills Cop, I'm like, this is boring shit and doesn't really translate well. But hey, it's Natalie Portman, it's a comedy, it's Lena Dunham. Maybe you'll tap in with the millennial crowd.
I feel like this is going to be kind of pregnant too, only more artistic. And, we're going to do one more story before we go to the Oscar talk. Scream 7 is now adding David Arquette to the cast, even though, he already is. Spoiler alert, his character died. But they're bringing back a lot of people, and the rumor is they're trying to make this kind of more meta, where it's like that. Think New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where it's going to be them playing themselves as actors, but also characters. So it's like, and I'm a fan of the Scream, franchise, but I didn't like five, as you know, or any fans who watch the show know. But also, I'm just like, you got rid of you got rid of Melissa Barham. You lost most of the cast when you got rid of her. You had to pay Dev Campbell all this money, and unfortunately, it didn't even work out to get um, Patrick Dempsey back. So we got Joel McHale. So I'm just like, this just feels like a cash grab.
It feels like cash grab. And I go with two theories. One could be, as you said, the new nightmare route where it's completely meta. It's the actors being hunted down by a killer in the real world, just like in that movie. The other rumor I heard was that whoever the killer is going to be is going to use some sort of AI thing with cloning the voices of all the dead characters, maybe even do a thing where I guess they'll have some high tech holographic mechanism to clone themselves, or actually, they would have videos being played up of photoshopping their face, the dead.
Did,
That,
didn't they kind of already do that in the last movie a little? And
I felt like they kind of did that in the fourth one to some extent.
well, that would explain why um, Emma Roberts is coming back. And I mean, like I said, we'll see when we see a trailer to see what it's like. But already it's getting diminishing returns for me. So, but if it looks good enough, I'll probably check it out. So, we also have our second question. I wrote it down. Thank you, Adrian. Um, Again, guys, any questions, we will answer them. Does not have to be about what we're talking about. If you have just any general movie question or want to know our opinion on anything, we will take it.
Yeah, shit's
So
happening
next,
every day.
what?
Shit's happening every.
Exactly. So next, we are going to start talking about our opinions of the Oscars, which actually goes well with the two questions we have. So, I enjoyed the Oscars for the most part. It kind of breezed by. I'm a big Conan O'Brien fan, so I had no problem with his hosting. Some of the jokes fit his brand of humor. Might not be for everybody, but I enjoyed it. Um, okay, I'll write down some of the things because there's the big one, which is Best Actress. We'll talk about that because that might be a very long conversation. I liked how they used John Lithgow. I wish they would have used him more
Mhm.
throughout the ceremony. Kieran Culkin, I mean, we all knew he was going to
Yeah.
win. But one of the things I like about Kieran Culkin that I find fascinating with him as an actor is that even when you can tell he's on script. Everything still sounds improv that he says. And he's one of the few actors I've seen who can actually do that. So, I don't know if it's maybe because he grew up in this business or if that's just his style, but I like it. I didn't love A Real Pain, but I enjoyed his performance, even though it was familiar from Succession, only with no money. Um, my other things, I'm not going to let it go. Nickel Boys was robbed of nominations and wins. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, go out and see it. Trust me, you will love that film. It is still my number two movie of the year. I love that film. And Amelia Perez. I'm going to be a little saucy with this one. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate the movie. But I'm going to say I don't like to get political, but I feel like it's a movie where liberals got everything they wanted, but also the kind of influence liberals have when they don't, when they try to grab onto another culture. Because you have the French director who's made films about other cultures and has always been respectful. He makes a film about Mexican culture, doesn't bother to learn the language, doesn't really cast any real Mexican actors, and doesn't seem to care because all that matters is the story he wants to tell. But yet he's using that culture to tell the story. And you could say artistically what you want, but when you hire Selena Gomez and she can't really speak Spanish properly, it shows you were more making a money move than anything in finance. And also, that's not, you have a trans character in the lead, and you did not know that your actress put out all these racist tweets beforehand. And I mean, I know nobody does a background check, but you should have jumped in front of that after you released the movie, you know? And you have a trans lead who was a man, but still is into women. So it's just like, okay, I have no comment there because I'm not a trans person. I am not a gay person. So I can't really comment on that. But it just feels, it makes the film seem a little more universal or more mainstream, I guess. The thing I can praise the film for is I do like the songs. I think it's shot very well, and Zoe Saldana does do a great performance. But there's so many problems, or it's so problematic that you can understand why a lot of people weren't behind it. And I mean, it won seven French Oscars, but it won like what, two American Oscars.
Yeah.
So, other than that, the only thing I have to say, the James Bond musical was kind of weird.
If you'll
Moment, yeah, and Mikey Madison. Debbie Moore gets no respect, and I just finished reading her autobiography. Um, I thought she was. How do you win every award leading up to the show and then you lose? That was like to me slap in the face. Basically, she lived the substance. Pretty much. I mean, I like Mikey Madison. I'm happy she won't be getting set on fire in any more movies that we know of at the end. So I'm happy for that. But she's such a young Best Actress winner. I mean, she could go the Jennifer Lawrence route, but again, she made that, was it Red something, that Russian film where she played the spy.
Oh yeah.
That was more like an erotic thriller, you know. and not that many people are writing leading good roles for a 25-year-old. You know, I mean, now she's getting offered like Narnia movies, and she's going to get offers probably for Marvel and all, and probably Star Wars too. But really, what is there going to be anything of quality? I mean, maybe if Sean Baker makes another movie and wants to cast her, great. But is she going to have to be like Sydney Sweeney, being in all these like indie films, but also some mainstream stuff for the paychecks?
Yeah, that's my concern. I mean, I pretty much I'm the same way. The only part that disappointed me was the best actress, even though I liked Maggie Madison. I thought she knocked it out the park with Honora. That was my concern as soon as I saw that she won, is I'm worried they're gonna typecast her. And if they don't typecast her, then my concern is that they might make her like a one-trick pony like Christoph Waltz, where he wins for Glorious Bastards, for Django, and he's great in both movies. But then it was like everybody wanted him to do the same act, and it just he burned out after a while. He's not as the gravitas isn't what it once was to have a guy like him in your movie. And I feel like yeah, she's young, and I've only seen just a little bit of what she's been able to do between this and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I mean, maybe there's more to scratch the surface with, but that's a concern. Even with Sean Baker, who again deserved the Oscar, I thought he did an excellent job with Honora. I don't want to see that guy sell out. I want him to continue to make those kind of grounded indie films like he did. No big stars attached, just, real stories. Be like a David Lynch or somebody that just doesn't sell out their principles so easily. But that's another thing too that I concern myself with, is a guy like him who might decide, yeah, to go to complete Hollywood route like some of these guys do.
True, but I just don't see that for him. Even though Honora is Sean Baker's most mainstream film, unless you want to count Greg the Bunny, but that was a television show. So I've been a fan since then, though. I will note that. But yeah, this is definitely no Red Rocket. His last film, which we've reviewed.
Mm.
Uh, um, what are your? Did you have any specific moments about the Oscars that you want to talk about? Mm.
Not too much. I mean, it was a pretty straightforward show. The thing with the firefighters was kind of cool, even though they all had to read from the prompter. But I liked the Joker 2 joke that he made, and the Drake joke with Kendrick Lamar, by Conan. That was funny. And I think the one observation I had about, I don't know how you feel, I felt like this was the first Oscars where I didn't really feel like there was a whole lot of star power. You know what I mean? Like, you
Well, I
didn't
think.
quite, yeah.
Good.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like you go to watch the Oscars, you always have the prestige directors present, the prestige actors, even when they're not nominated for anything. And this year felt like, you still have people that came down, but something felt a little off. And it felt like the old Hollywood is starting to phase out. Hence, having Morgan Freeman do the memoriam with Gene Hackman, which every year there's always some reason to get pissed off with that because they always leave people out. They left out our friend John Ashton, rest in peace. They left out
True.
Tony Todd. They didn't even mention Michelle Trachtenberg. Like, what the hell? Like, you guys, I know you have that link. Oh, you can look at the whole thing on the website. Fuck the commercial. Like, everyone just died that was very significant in early Hollywood and even today's Hollywood. And that's what I hate about the Oscars sometimes, is that everybody has to like rush their speeches just to make the fucking commercials. That's why your shit's going on Hulu next year, exclusive.
I agree. They didn't even give Alain Delon, the French actor, acting legend, any credit. So, um, any other observations? We're getting close to 4:45, and we have a third question. Again, guys, any questions? We'll answer for the few who are still here. But we appreciate everybody who's still here and anybody who stopped by and checked out the show. Sorry we couldn't keep you guys as entertained, but we're honored that you even decided to watch. So, um, again, do you have any other Oscar observations? And
Well, like the James Bond number was kind of weird. The girl that did the Skyfall theme was really good. I forgot it was Doja Cat or the girl that came
no, it's not.
after. No,
uh,
I don't know who girls are except for Doja Cat.
okay.
I,
You should do your research there.
I don't like a lot of modern music, just so you know. There's only maybe a handful. I do like. I kind of like The Weeknd. I like Bruno Mars, but that's really about it.
I like
Maybe
that
you know
that those are so
Thundercat.
popular but random artists that you pick. Childish Gambino,
I have respect for him. I'm not going to say I buy his albums.
Tyler the Creator, and
Never even heard of Tyler the Creator.
he's heard about you.
Oh,
um,
give my
well, okay.
number.
Um, decent. No, that's not modern. I was gonna say, and that's for another show. Okay, so it's almost 4:45. Let's do, I guess, one last story and then get into these questions, and then probably go back to the stories because nobody else is asking any questions. We only got three, but we only have three viewers still left so far. Thanks, guys, for saying. And um, let's see, Kathleen Kennedy, is she leaving Lucasfilm or not?
So the early report said she was out by the end of this year. Then she comes out and says, "No, I'm not leaving. I'm sticking around." It's kind of in the middle. So she is looking for a successor to take over Star Wars at some point. And I think that the projects that they're greenlighting now, if even if she's not on the set, she's still going to get some kind of an executive producer, right? Because some of these movies, they may have the producer name, doesn't mean that they're on the set and hands on every day. So she's trying to get the train to leave the station before she heads out. But I personally believe, based on sources from other legit scoopers, that she's definitely not getting renewed. She's probably waiting until Bob Iger makes his transition out of Disney because she may not want to deal with the next regime that comes about. And so I'm expecting Dave Filoni's going to probably be more creatively hands-on with Star Wars, and then they'll probably just get some producer executive that is just in her position, handling more the business end, the merchandising and the marketing. But the truth, I think, in more of what I've done my research on, is that as much as we like to poke at Kathleen Kennedy for all the shortcomings of Star Wars, it really goes hand in hand between her and Disney. I think it really was just Disney tried to make this into Marvel and was trying to pump out Star Wars content, and they diluted the product. And at the same time, I think Kennedy didn't really push back or defend George Lucas's vision. It was simply she came in and they didn't have a solid plan for that sequel trilogy, and you end up having this whole mess of, oh, let's get this hot director, that hot director to make a Star Wars movie, and then you end up with stuff that either they start to backlash on, or it's something like, oh, we made a mistake with Lord and Miller with Solo, let's go get Ron Howard, he's more established. But it didn't really have connected well with Star Wars, and certainly doing the whole thing of, oh, we don't want to make this for 40 and plus year old people. We got to make it for the modern audience. Let me tell you something. The modern audience does not give a flying fuck about Star Wars right now. They much Barbie.
Straight from Star Wars fan too.
And I'm not saying Barbie's a bad movie. I actually enjoyed Barbie, but I'm just my observation from people who go on TikTok. I mean, listen, there are fans out there. There are kids who still buy the merch, but you go to most stores, it's just the figures are lying there at discount prices. It's not like it used to be where you could barely find this stuff.
Well, you would know definitely firsthand about that.
And I'm
Yeah, I
glad
remember.
the old Star Wars. Don't try to pander me with your bullshit.
Well, there's other people involved other than you, other
Yeah,
fans, you know.
old Star Wars. They don't need to be pandered with I'm not even going to say Mary Sue because that's the right wing fandom menace people who say that, but just not everybody has to be a fucking feminist in Star Wars. Just write good characters.
Well, and Max Landis. I also use that term a lot. Okay, so we have four questions. So take as long as you need to answer them, unless some other people want to give us more questions. The first one: do you think Gene Hackman has the right amount of Oscars?
I mean, two certainly cements his legacy. I think he probably could have gotten a third from Mississippi Burning.
True. I think he has the right amount. I guess it also goes how much do you put into somebody having an Oscar? Because, there's plenty of like iconic actors more now these days who don't have one or haven't won one yet, So that's why I'm like, because now we have this whole game where it's like, oh, I didn't give it to you for your great performance here, but since we keep turning you down, by the time you're up for your fourth best actor, we owe it to you. So we're gonna give. That seems to be what Coleman Domingo is going for because he's so far 2 for 2, no Oscars, and never even the front run. But two, I can only account for one performance. I didn't see Sing Sing yet, but all I've heard is good stuff about it. So. Mm. Um, so your answer is yes. You think he has the right amount of Oscars, and he could use a third. And my answer is he don't need no fucking Oscars. That man's a legend. Everybody knows who Gene Hackman is.
Yeah.
No one's like who. It's, I even think like he was probably pissed at De Niro for getting like dirty grandpa in the intern because De Niro was turning into like Susan Sarandon, taking all the older roles. So that's why he retired. He's like the best I can do is welcome to Mooseport. Fuck you, De Niro. I'm retired. And
I The guy brought legitimacy to Superman, so one was even enough. Even,
Superman didn't need legitimizing. I told you, still has one of the most romantic moments on film. And do you guys think Gene Hackman deserved an Oscar nomination for The Royal Tenenbaums?
yes.
I will say yes. He terrorized Wes Anderson. Bill Murray had to protect him. And he's like he plays his Gene Hackman best curmudgeon, but then at the end he turns kind of sweet. And that was a film I really loved. So, even though he only worked with Wes Anderson once and terrorized him, I say yes. I think he should have got a nomination. I don't know who got nominated that year that he would be going up against, but I'm sure we could pick somebody to kick out and give Gene Hackman. I mean, the man was 70. Come on. And next, this one is from Adrian. With the recent passing of Roy Ayers, who made the Amazing Coffee soundtrack, do you guys have a favorite blaxploitation film and soundtrack?
Ooh, there's many.
I'll go first because I already have an answer. I am a big fan of Hell Up in Harlem, the sequel to Black Caesar. I mean, it has such a ridiculous action scenes. It has James Brown on the soundtrack with Big Papa, where Fred Williamson's father becomes like the big crime lord in our. You have a thing where two guys are fighting in an airport in New York. Both get on the same plane, flying to LA, then have baggage handling, start fighting again. Come on. No movie could do that. And the soundtrack is just like it's amazing, but there's so many good blaxploitation soundtracks. There's Melba Moore with the one with Godfrey Cambridge. Oh, Cotton Comes to Harlem. You have
Oh,
that soundtrack. You have, I mean, the Last Dragon soundtrack. I don't care what anybody says. That the flow is the
yeah.
shit. So, uh, that is mine. But my favorite blaxploitation movie is actually a sequel, Hell Up in Harlem. I think that's even still from that picture I got autographed by Fred
Mhm.
Williamson. What is
For me,
your answer?
yeah. I mean, I love the Shaft score by Isaac Hayes, but I'm more partial to Curtis Mayfield with Superfly because that really added the
Mm,
layers of story to push it along, and it's so laid back, and it adds to the atmosphere of that film. And the movie itself. I mean, I've been meaning to watch it again because it's so good as an
oh,
indie film, and
mm,
certain.
yeah.
Well, nice.
No,
Ronald
no.
Neal was the
Finish what you have to say. I will give my comment
yeah. No,
after.
I fly, and it's definitely it's a daring movie for its day. Let's put it that way. That one, I probably would also say, yeah, there's Well, I didn't like the movie, but I love the soundtrack. Trouble Man, the Marvin Gaye score, and
Okay. Yeah.
the score on the album is much better than the movie because he had to rescore a lot of it for the album. So what you got in the film, the mixing wasn't quite correct, especially with the theme song. But that theme song is still fire. So much so that John Singleton used the whole thing in Four Brothers.
Yep. That's one of the most memorable parts of that movie. Um, I'm going to say how you just talked about Trouble Man. That's how I feel about Superfly. Love the soundtrack. Movie, is the thing though is oh jeez, I had a point and it's like flipping out of my mind right now. It had something to do with the soundtrack and I'll come back to it. I guess now my mind's like, huh? I'm trying to even think how I got to what I wanted to say. But yeah, Superfly. I love anything Curtis Mayfield. So I love that. Oh, the soundtrack I wish I could find. Willie Dynamite. That song,
Mm.
Willie. That has some bangers in it. It's not the greatest film, but it has so many memorable moments in it. So I'd give that. I can't give. I'm gonna give you Sucka like soundtrack points.
No, they recycle a lot of stuff. A lot of like ladies hip hop.
Yeah. The only
KRS
other,
soundtrack.
yeah, like the only other black exploitation movie I could remember, Bucktown, that I really enjoyed. Because it was like seeing Raj's dad versus Fred Williamson, and they used to be friends. And it's sort of like some kind of Shakespearean, storyline with Pam Grier. And
It's
the same dude, the same cutthroat dude from Hell Up in Harlem does the same shit in that movie. So it's like, damn, never trust that guy.
yeah. If you talk about like later movies, like Fred Williamson with Soda Cracker, having Phyllis Hyman in the movie and doing a song
Damn.
is still like riveting to me to see to this day. And Action Jackson, the Pointer Sisters, he turned me out.
That's
And her,
still one of my favorite. I am still trying to work on cracking the script to Action Jackson 2, Son of Action Jackson.
uh,
So
uh,
I love Action Jackson. And I don't remember much about the soundtrack, so I'm not gonna lie.
Aaron,
And
the son of Action Jackson.
hey, for a while there, I was thinking of Terry Crews, but that was also when Carl Weathers was still with us. So, um, our final question is unless anybody else wants to start sending us some, uh, actually, I don't even have to go. It's still here. What do you think about Christopher Nolan's Odyssey casting? Mm, I mean, it's Christopher Nolan, so it's sort of like Oppenheimer, where it's like, but you're getting even bigger names in the film. So it's not like, oh, there's Benny Safdie, there's Rami Malek playing bit roles. I'm wondering if that's how it's going to be. Like, we're getting all these big names, but they're like, hey, I'm here for 5 minutes. So you're like wondering who's actually really part of the big main cast, other than maybe Matt Damon. But Matt Damon might be doing the same thing he did in Oppenheimer, more supporting. Um, I'm not that. I like the cast, but I'm not that excited. But I don't. I'm not a big fan of period pieces. So that's me. I mean, I know it's Christopher Nolan, but I'm still like, meh. It's if it has a banging trailer, I'll probably be there though. And
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be pretty damn large. And yeah, my worry would be that there would be just all these big actors, but like in there for like 2 minutes at a time. It just seems like everybody's lining up around the block to want to work with Christopher Nolan, and they're probably like, "Well, I don't care what I have to play. I'll play like a guard in the background. Just throw me in there." So yeah, everybody's getting a job with him. I just kind of wish it was that Blue Thunder futuristic movie was rumored. But hey, it's a sequel to Troy, so why not?
well, it won't have. It doesn't have to try that hard to beat Troy because I still say Troy is one of the worst big studio films I've ever seen, except for that fight scene. And so, again, anybody has any questions, we'll probably be on for another 15 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Ask us
well,
for here.
yes, you can ask us again about stuff. It doesn't have to be all Gene Hackman questions. Ask us about personal taste in films. If you don't know ours yet. Um, uh, yeah, because probably about 5:10, we'll say our goodbye. So you guys got 13 minutes. Okay. So I'm just gonna go to news since nobody's writing there. But again, thank you everybody who showed up, who's still here. Thanks for sticking with us. We love you. We like and love that you're fans and friends. And of course, this will probably be on my account so you can watch it. If you missed any parts of it.
And
James Gunn Superman is getting really bad test screening
yeah,
results. I'm like, and for that, I'm just going to do this.
yes, and I don't know. The pressure's definitely on to make this a success, or else another attempt at restarting the DC brand on film is going to fail miserably. And I think that where we're at is simply Superman is just hard to connect with any generation now past the Richard Donner period. And even with no matter how much like geeky aspects you could have, like you have Crypto in there, you have Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, and other characters. So you could say it's action packed and it's going to be lighter than what Zack Snyder did. I'm still very concerned with all that James Gunn is out there just contradicting himself on social media. This is happening, that's not happening. And I haven't seen enough to really feel that excited for this. And I'm hoping he changes my mind in the next couple months or there's a problem.
Yeah, because it's like he did Guardians of the Galaxy so well, and then it's like maybe just normal characters he's just having a hard time with.
Seems that way.
And I mean, didn't he produce what was it, Brightburn too? And
Yeah, he produced Brightburn, and that was supposed to have a sequel that hasn't happened yet. It was supposed to like
I
open
would
up a
like
whole.
that. And
Yeah,
um,
that.
okay, we got another question from Frybrand. Most anticipated summer 2025 movie. And I
Mm,
don't know so far off the top of my head that many summer 2025 movies. So I'm going to go with the only one that I can think of other than that Superman. I'm looking forward to Megan 2.0 because Megan 1 was kind of a surprise. I mean, it's trashy, but yet fun. I just hope they go for a R rating, even though I think they're going to probably keep it PG-13 again. And, I'm the only other film I can think of that I'm excited, but I don't know if it's coming out in the summer. Um, the guy who directed Civil War co-directed a war movie that's coming out with troops. It's a siege movie. I'm looking forward to that film. I don't know. Does Havoc count as a summer film with Tom Hardy?
I mean, it's coming out in the summer, so yeah.
Okay. I really would like to see that, even if it is on Netflix. Because I love the director and Tom Hardy. Familiar face. He's interesting as an actor, but I know he could do the physical action. And did you say any films in particular?
Uh, there's not a lot that's really getting me that excited. I mean, the closest might be Fantastic Four, but again, haven't seen enough to really be motivated. Like, of course, I'm gonna go see it, but it's just I look at that trailer and I feel like it's just more of the same from like when Tim Story did the Fox movies. Just now, oh, it's gonna be a different universe. It's 1960s set, and we're gonna have everybody look more comic accurate. Um, you're starting to get me there, but I'm not there yet to really feel like, oh, it's going to be the best summer movie ever. No, not too much for me. I'm
well,
looking for what's the new thing.
I mean, I agree with you. I feel like they got kind of a budget cast for this movie because they couldn't afford anybody. But it's got to be better than the last time they tried to reboot the Fantastic Four.
No, yeah,
That the only thing I appreciated was maybe the body horror elements and trying to make it a little darker. But they didn't really have anything else to go with any of that. We have another question from Adrian Crawford or Mr. Crawford. Devil Wears Prada 2. Any opinion? I say why mess with what works? The original is such to me kind of like a fun classic movie. Um, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably watch it. But again, it comes down to is it really needed? I mean, if they can come up with a really good story that makes it feel like it's worthy of a sequel, I have no problem. But if this is just a cash in, then I'd rather just leave well enough alone. I mean, Anne Hathaway, I guess she still has box office. Emily Blunt, if she sticks with the project till the end, which she notoriously does not, it will be great. And Meryl Streep, I mean, what else is she doing? And so I mean, I'll go see it. If it looks good enough. Andre, what is your opinion of that?
It's another one I don't think they need to mess with. I think the first film still holds up as is, and I just don't see the point.
Okay. Hey guys, we're still here for 5 minutes if you have any questions. Or do you want me to go to the dreaded news stories? Um, they're going to they want to remake Starship Troopers. Because why not? At this point.
I
Um,
mean, Starship Troopers, I don't think it's a sacred enough cow to be remade. I mean, I love the Verhoeven movie. I think it's on second viewing, once you understand what he was trying to do, it actually makes it more interesting. But I could see where maybe they could adapt the book a little closer. They could get better actors. Obviously, they were trying to he was poking fun at Saved by the Bell and Beverly Hills 90210 with that movie. So I think they'll probably pull back from that. And yeah, probably better effects since more updated with the CGI. I mean, I'm all for it. It's one of those movies that I think it was good. I don't think it's a masterpiece, so I'd be fine with the.
See, I liked it for when it came out because it was kind of campy and ahead of its time. So that's why I appreciate it. I just don't feel. I feel like anything if they're remaking it, I feel like it's going to be more of the action film everybody wanted from that movie. So that's why I'd rather not. Let's just stick to where it is. I mean, it seems like whenever Verhoeven directs an American action film, other than The Hollow Man, he's ahead of the curve. Especially when it kind of goes into political or social mores. So I applaud him for that. But again, I just feel like this is gonna be like directed by some studio heads kid. It's gonna have all these what used to be called MTV visuals, but it'll be all style, very little substance.
I should also mention in that same piece of news, because I did read about this a few days ago. Verhoeven plans to do another American movie.
Yeah, but will he be able to find financing? And because again, studios are run by more business people. And what was the last really successful movie that he directed that was American?
Well, actually, Hollow Man did make money, even though it's considered a disappointment. I know the movie that he wanted to do was not Crusade. I like to see that, but the he was going to work with the guy that wrote RoboCop, Ed Neumeyer. They had like a conspiracy theory script that he was planning to do. It was supposed to be along the lines of Basic Instincts, and that has not happened yet. That's been talked about now, probably for the last 7 or 8 years.
Well, I mean, I'm anytime Verhoeven has another film, even if it's in a foreign language, I'm always looking forward to it. Yeah, well, we have a few stories and also 4 minutes left till we're gonna wrap things up. So if anybody wants any last minute questions, this is the time. Who's still viewing? And thank you for sticking with us. And I hope it wasn't too torturous for some of you. They're like, make it stop. So, Sergeant Rock, Daniel Craig dropped out of playing the lead, and Jeremy Allen White turned it down. I don't think this will be a hard film to find a lead for, but I'm interested in seeing Luca Guadagnino try an action movie.
Yeah, I'm wondering because I mean these are star caliber talents. I'm wondering if maybe there's some script issues they need to resolve before they can get anybody major.
I mean, I wish if he was still acting, I wish Bruce Willis could like star in this movie. And
considered for it back in the 80s. They were going to write it for Schwarzenegger. They're going to repurpose the character for him. So all those guys, Mel Gibson, they were all up for this because Joel Silver was going to produce it, and Shane Black had written a draft, and it never came to fruition.
That would have been interesting. You know, I'm a Silver fan. And our last story before we wrap things up, unless somebody's going to send us a question, Ayo Atterbury, who some of you might know from The Bear and various films, is going to write and star in the Barney movie, and that I believe is being produced by Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Um, I like her. I don't know how they're going to do it. This sounds like another Barbie or like that Hot Wheels movie they wanted to do. But I think Io Atterbury is talented enough that she can make it interesting. But it also depends who's the audience. Is this for kids? Is this for people who grew up on Barney? You know, like I guess what's the end? Is it a comedy? Is it a fantasy? Is it like that Minecraft movie with Jack Black that looks horrible? You know, what is it?
My understanding is this story movie is not going to be for kids. It's going to be a horror movie, and I think it's going to be disturbing. I think there's going to be some, it's going to be some sodomy. There's going to be the kid with the fucking toothbrush in the meme. He probably
We
killed.
didn't say Dan Schneider was writing the film.
Probably
Jesus.
wants to kill. Just to kill the fucking dinosaur.
Is he gonna grow to like Jurassic Park size?
He's gonna be. He's gonna stalk these little kids in their preschool.
You know, you had me at first with your I've got it inside. It ain't gonna be for kids. You know, like you were like you had the script in front of you. Like, hey, I'm just saying, it ain't for kids. Or like some weird dealer on the playground. You
I
know, like
haven't been in the writers' room for these projects, but man, I can imagine the shit they're coming up with when these say, "Okay, Barney as a horror movie, just better than that Fantasy Island shit."
is it? I mean, if Kim Coades is in it, you know, I'm there. You know, um, well, let's wrap it up because it looks like we only have one viewer. Thank you, whoever you are, for sticking through
Sorry,
the whole show.
for
I
me.
Yes, I hope this wasn't a torture view. But hey, we got a better turnout than the last time. But we want to thank everybody who tuned in, who asked questions, who commented. We really appreciate you. Of course, we're gonna let you know next month when the next live show is. I hope you come back. You're not like, oh, I went to the last one. Woo! No, thank you. We just really appreciate you guys for being here, watching the show. You know, we put this out as passion projects every time, and we love interacting with fans. We want to interact with more fans because nobody leaves us comments on YouTube. And so this is where we're trying to reach out to you. This will, of course, be on my account if you want to rewatch it, and you can fast forward. Yeah, our last fan left. So, um, that's our business for this week. But as you know, we always have unfinished business. And I have to ask all of you, including Andre, have you have you seen? Hmm. I got I gotta put something out. Have you seen Mysterious Skin? If not, why not? Because it's fucking awesome and disturbing. And then with Michelle Trachtenberg. Andre, what film should the people check out that we haven't mentioned already on this hour? And
Have you seen the movie Blood and Wine with Jack Nicholson? If not, why not? Because it's fucking awesome.
not one I would pick, but okay. Yay. Check it out. Yeah, you could do worse. It's one of the last it's one of Jack Nicholson's last films really. And
Well, him and Bob Rafelson, it was the last movie they
yeah,
did
Bob
together.
Rafelson. Uh, dearly departed. And so that is the end of the episode. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves for the time that they were here. I hope they watch this. I hope new people watch this on Instagram. And we will see you guys right next month. And hope to see all of you again. It's been fun. It's been a blast. It's always going to last until we get other jobs where we're paid to do this. So thank you all. We love you all. We will see you again. And we have to bid you adieu.